Here's the big question this show answers. How do we leverage technology and human science to positively impact our personal and professional life? The Tech Human Experience has the answer. Here's your host, Inc. 5000 tech founder, neuroscience junkie, and Navy SEAL wannabe, Javier Guerra.
Hello, my fellow tech humans. Today's guest is an accomplished senior information technology and digital transformation leader in the health insurance sector, a seasoned project management professional, and an aficionado of agile methodologies. He is also a passionate advocate for utilizing data to drive healthcare solutions. Please welcome Prasanna Nathan.
Thank you, Javier.
Thanks for coming on the show today. Yeah, always good having you, Prasanna. So really looking forward to this conversation. Again, appreciate your time. So I wanted to start today with an icebreaker statistic. So, a recent survey found that 80% of consumers are more likely to make purchases when brands offer personalized experiences. So doing what you do, in your experience, you have a vast wealth of experience. How is your team leveraging technology to offer more personalized health insurance plans and experiences to end customers?
Thank you. I think that's a pretty interesting statistic, and something that myself and my team constantly work towards is keeping the customer center of everything that we do, right? And there comes the personalization factor. Putting yourself in the customer's shoes, all of us want that personalized experience, be it in our shopping, be it in our retail, or in any other day-to-day experiences. So the concept of personalization, providing a tailored coverage, a communication method that's specific to each individual, right? And at the same time, realizing that one size does not fit all is very critical. Each customer have varying needs, varying medical conditions, financial situations, and family situations, right? Providing them the personalized health insurance plans that the coverage offered is very meaningful to them is very important for the customer to feel and get the trust, right? So it's about creating the trust with the customer, and the only way we can do that is understanding their personal needs, understanding their financial needs, and meeting them where they are at. So that's where I fully agree with that statement that personalization is very key, be it in the retail industry or be it in the financial insurance sector.
Yeah, it makes me think of Amazon. It's like everybody is now conditioned to they want it now, right? Like especially Amazon Prime members, right? It's like it's on your doorstep. There's even Prime Now, I think it's called, so where you get it in the same day, and it's like organizations that aren't following suit and really catering to that expectation, especially with the younger generation that's coming up, right? Like they just have everything at their fingertips, and it's it's not always, it's easier said than done, right? Because like you said, there's varying types of personalities, varying types of age groups and demographics that may have different needs or may want different experiences. So it makes me think of data. It's like that's where the data is so important, and having that feedback from the customer so that you guys can continuously evolve and make that offering better and better, right?
Yeah, the constant learning and making sure that there is continuous improvement is very critical, right? You cannot build something and say, okay, I'm good. You cannot just sit on that one, right? The needs continue to increase. The expectations continues to increase, and making sure that we meet and exceed the expectations is critical before our competitors do that one. So that's where being able to stay one step ahead or on par with the customer needs and expectations is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about digitizing insurance, can you help us understand what tools or softwares have really been game changers for either your organization or just in your extensive history and experience working in the space? Like what has really been a game changer in making insurance policies more accessible to customers?
I think getting most of the information on their mobile apps is very critical, right? Getting the all of us have seen the insurance documents. They are pages and pages long, and it takes forever to read them, right? So being able to interpret that in a meaningful fashion and getting that information on their in their fingertips on their mobile screens, more so when it is relevant for them, not at the time of that they buy the policy, but when it is actually meaningful to them. They are at the doctor's office, they are at a hospital, and they need to know the information. Getting that information at that moment for them is very critical. I think that's been the game changer even in the industry, is providing that real time information to the customers that is relevant to them at that moment, right? And also simple to understand. Uh, Insurance, as we all know, is pretty complex, and simplifying that is where it helps the customer, right? That's where the customer is ready to trust the company and say, I know what they mean, and they were there at the time of need. So that's kind of the key, because when everything is actually happy, everything is going on good, no one remembers the insurance company. The only time that they do is when there is a need, and being able to support them at that time of need is critical. So that's the differentiator there, and mobile tools have really been that game changer, be it the telehealth concepts where you can actually talk to your doctor over a phone, or providing documentation, coverage details, benefit information, ID cards on the mobile app. Those have been really a good game changer.
And I still think there's a lot of room for improvement. I'm not, at least from some of the apps that I've been using. I was actually using one today. Actually, I have a counselor slash coach that I talk to with my son. He's in college, first year in college, and I just kind of leverage her as a coach, right? It's just, how can we communicate better? How can I help him, get past his challenges? How can right now I'm kind of working with him and understanding how to set boundaries. So there's a great book by Dr. Henry Cloud on how to set boundaries. It's boundaries with everybody, your parents, your siblings, your everybody, all your relationships, right? And I'm really helping him and kind of coaching him to figure out who he is as he's gone away to college, and really understand how to set the boundaries with the people in the circle of influence. And my appointment got canceled. I had an appointment this morning at 8 a.m. Got canceled. I didn't really get a notification. It was kind of weird because I normally get like a text message of like, join the video conference call here. And but it was very difficult to navigate. I went through a doctor platform, and then I had to go through another platform, and it's actually fairly confusing. So I think there's a lot of good things out there, but it's like you said, there has to be continuous improvement and streamlining things and integrating things. And it makes me think about the medical health records of how long these projects have been going on in the background of trying to align people's healthcare data and integrate it into systems. And so there's definitely room for improvement, I think, on a lot of levels. But I think you're spot on when you say it's a constant evolution. It's not going to stop.
Absolutely, right. That's where one of the challenges that we have with the industry, and it's not just okay to blame it, but just address it and look at that as an opportunity, because the industry has been there for a long time, so there's a lot of data, and the data is kind of hidden in multiple places. With the HIPAA regulations, with the legal side of it, getting all of that data together is kind of the challenge that we as industry leaders and digital teams, that's the challenge in front of us. How do we bring an integrated solution that not only keeps the data legal and secure, but at the same time simplifies it both for the caregiver as well as for the actual customer there, right? So that's the challenge that's ahead of us. And you hit it right on. Yes, somebody canceled it, and it's sitting in some system, but unless you do this two-step hop on it, you're not going to see that the cancellation is there. Why did that not come over as a real-time notification to you on your phone? That is the technology barrier that we need to break up. The doctor clicked on their app saying that I'm not able to make it, cancel, and that should automatically trigger a notification for you, right? So that's the world that we are used to outside of the healthcare industry. And but the healthcare industry is still catching up to that, and that's the challenge that each of us have.
Yeah, absolutely. So simplifying the complexities, can you help us to really understand if there's any emerging technologies you believe could make insurance products easier to understand or purchase or utilize?
I think a couple of things that we're looking at. AI has changed a lot in the last 12 months. It is something that we need to be very what we call as responsible AI, right? Because we are dealing with people, we are dealing with humans, so you cannot really just take AI and put it out there. So there has to be a responsible AI integrations that we need to think of. Along with that comes the things like natural languages processing, right? There was a recently, I think I was listening to a TED talk where they were talking about natural language, and that's kind of when I was thinking about it, saying that, oh, the natural language would be a great tool in the insurance industry to translate the complexity of it in a simplified language that the customers would understand, right? I could just ask a question, the system would understand what the question is, be it in whatever language. It doesn't have to be in English. So I myself kind of speak 5 different languages. So it kind of knowing a system does understand in whatever language that I can speak, being able to understand that, interpret it, look at the policy documents, look at the coverages, look at the benefits, and translate it into a meaningful fashion, saying that what does it cover, what does it not cover, what do I expect. That will be actually an awesome tool to have, right? So if I had unlimited amount of money and time, what would I be actually doing is actually looking for those natural language processing concepts that would take the complexity away and simplify it for the customer in a language that they can understand in a meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were talking earlier, I thought about that. I was thinking about when I first started caring about healthcare, there was a mentor. I consider him a mentor, right? He started a company called Summit Insurance Group, a very successful entrepreneur here in San Antonio. And, I would ask him for advice on how to interpret healthcare plans, right? If I was getting one in place at the organizations I was working with, because they're so difficult to compare, of understanding like what level should you be getting if there's multiple options, like which one is better than the other. It's almost like you need a PhD to be able to figure out, what's the best option. So, and I thought about this as like, now with the ChatGPT and all these large language models that we have access to, I'm wondering how good they would be at interpreting that and being able to give us advice to kind of break down and compare maybe competing plans, so to speak.
I think that's where the health insurance industry is very different from the other places. I'll just compare it to a close sibling, I'll say, in the auto insurance, right? When it comes to auto insurance, the variability is less because you have a Nissan car, the other person has a Nissan car, you have an Audi, the other person has an Audi. You can do a comparison there, right? It's a like for like comparison, and you can build models on that one. Yes, there's an age of the car, but it's still a variable that you can control. But when it comes to health of a person, no two people are same, no two health conditions are same, no two histories are same, the genetics are same, and all of that, right? So that's where the health insurance industry has a uniqueness to it, where you're dealing with humans. You need to have that empathy, but at the same time understand the data and become predictable with it, right? So that's the challenge that's ahead, and it's a unique thing that is specific to this industry. And that's one of the things that I personally do enjoy, because you're dealing with people, but at the same time using technology to make their lives meaningful and simplified. So that's the challenge that we have.
Yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes when you're dealing with humans. They're complex animals, I like to say. So it definitely keeps it interesting.
Yep.
So for the future of tech insurance, how do you envision the role of technology in reshaping the health insurance industry over, say, the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think as I was earlier saying, the technology industry is fast changing, and this sector, the health insurance uh, group, needs to step up and take on the opportunities with the insurance world, right? With the technology and insurance, the happy marriage between technology and insurance, that needs to happen. It's there. It's I won't say it's starting. It's already there. Supersizing it is kind of where it is critical. Creating an integrated solution so that I don't have to go to a different app for my prescription drugs, a different app for my doctor, a different app for my healthy habits. We giving them an integrated solution. All of us have technology pretty much wearing it throughout the day with our Apple Watches and other technology equipments. Giving that integrated experience for them, where the different uh, digital pieces, the technology pieces, the equipments that we wear, and the needs that we have, and our health history, right? Bringing all of those together is where is going to be the opportunity for us in the future. Creating that integrated super solution is where we as industry leaders in the digital world needs to be taking and providing that information to the customers so that it's meaningful for them.
It makes me think about when cloud was blowing up at the inception of people starting to really migrate to the cloud. Maybe it was even before that, before it got really popular. But I know that there was somebody that said that the healthcare industry would never do it, right? And then there was a guy that, I forget what he wrote, but he wrote some sort of standardization of like requirements and in alignment with some sort of very long regulation that would basically enable people to, in the healthcare space, to migrate to the cloud. It almost, I believe that we're at that next stage now, to where it's like you're saying, everything needs to be integrated. We need to get everything streamlined. There's some old antiquated practices within the industry that need to be innovated, or need to leverage innovation and integration and ease of use and user experience. But at the same time, now we're faced with all the new what ifs of large language models and artificial intelligence and data privacy and new regulations that are coming out, as well as security measures that are becoming more and more important, and more threats are emerging from the threat landscape. So it's very complex when I think about it.
It is very complex, and I think that is where empathy, responsibility, and sometimes the wait and watch model, right? You don't want to jump with both feet in some scenarios. AI is a good example. We want to use AI in a meaningful way, say to, for example, our customer service reps. We want to give them the capabilities of AI so that they are better serving our customers, but we wouldn't want AI to be making decisions for us, right? We wouldn't want AI to be driving our their coverage details, right? What medical details or medical recommendation that we want to do for them, we wouldn't want to use AI for that one. So there is that happy balance on when to use and when to kind of step back and say, this is a complex model, this is a complex industry that we are in, and let the humans do what they are best at doing. And the repeatable things, the mundane things that we do, using technology there and freeing up the time and the effort for the people who can actually focus on providing that value added service. That's where the key is. So knowing when to jump in and when not to is very critical in an industry that is very much legal, very much people, and you need to have that balance on that one.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to consider when you're talking about the healthcare space and all of these innovative technologies and regulations. So it goes far and wide and deep, I would think. So as far as being people centric, you mentioned doing things and having empathy and doing things that are for the benefit of the people, making their lives easier, all these types of things, but at the same time really keeping into consideration their data privacy and HIPAA regulations, which are there's a lot, there's a lot to chew. How do you let's add to that. So it's been a challenging economic environment over the last few years, right? We've had COVID, we've had a lot of changes in the world, there's conflict in the world, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's rising interest rates, right? So the economy's in an interesting place, the world is in an interesting place, things are changing, and there's a lot of VUCA, so to speak, or uncertainty, at least in some fear out there. So a lot of organizations are, going through budget cuts. They're going through layoffs. They're having a lot of these challenges, and in the midst of this environment, how do you think organizations? You don't necessarily have to answer this for your organization, but how do you think organizations should ensure that their technology advancements are really about serving like real human needs, rather than just trying to save money or help the budget?
No, that's a good point. I think we are at a time in the world where technology is fast evolving. People needs and expectations are at the topmost, and we have an economic situations that's not favorable, along with the world situation that's not helping it too, right? We have a combination of things going on, and that's where going back to the roots is way more important than trying to come out of think completely out of the box, right? Going back to the roots, what is the basic need, prioritizing the real human needs is very important. Not looking for cost savings, but looking for human centric approach at every stage, and engaging with the end users, right? Do through surveys, through interviews, through feedback sessions. Engaging with them is going to be critical, and making sure that we are listening to them, right? Sometimes listening to the needs is half the work done. Building that trust in them, that there is a company out there, there is a group of people out there that do care for me, is more important than giving them a fashy solution, right? So that's where the challenge is to making sure that we go back to the simplicity of things, listening to our customers, keeping the human centric approach, and involving diverse stakeholders. Sometimes the cost savings might does not need to come from compromising, but it might be in reducing waste, right? Reducing fraud, and that's one of the key things in this industry is the fraud and waste. So you could be saving money from removing the fraud and waste, automating things that might be faster for the customer, and requiring less people. So you could do cost saving, but in a more ethical and meaningful fashion than just impacting the end user. Right, knowing that there is a continuous. Again, I go back to the old statement that I said, continuously waiting for feedback, getting feedback, and responding to that is very meaningful. Also, have the customer satisfaction engagements. Know what your customer needs and their well-being, just not the financial metrics, right? One of the key things is to look at your NPS scores versus your financials. Don't look at the revenue and profit, but do look at your NPS scores. Do look at how satisfied your customers are. I think that'll it depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for financial, that's what you're going to always focus on. If you're looking for customer satisfaction, that's where you're going to focus on. I think it depends on, as a company, what are the things that we are looking for.
Yeah, what is the strategy and what is the the goals, right? And how does that align with that? It makes me think about when I was learning to build companies. At first I would get more hyper fixated on I know that this is what companies need. This is what people need. This is a solution that needs to be done, right? Or that needs to be created to really drive that change and help solve root problems, specifically with technology teams. But then I went through a multi-month course designed by MIT of really how to solve problems, and it's more of a it was a workshop, more of talking to the end users first, like just talking to the general public, right, and doing the research and finding out what solutions are people asking for, what are their biggest frustrations, and literally just going out and interviewing people. And we actually did this. We just went out and interviewed people about certain things or certain areas of just their life, and we start to identify patterns of people saying that they're frustrated with this and this needs to be fixed. And what the model is it's basically teaching you how to create a product that people are asking for, and then create a business around it and a business model around it, versus staying kind of in your own head and thinking, oh, they want this or they need this, right? So you go to the end users and get that data, because if you're not really building what they're asking for, then you may not be building what they need. And so that's huge. And another aspect of that is listening, right? There's listening is really an art form. And, I don't think I've ever asked I've never asked a person or a group when I'm presenting or doing a workshop or just talking to people. I'll ask them a question is, have you ever been taught how to listen? Have you ever been through training on how to listen? I've never had one person say yes, right? But there's actually an art to it, and there's multiple levels of listening. And it's extremely important because, a lot of reasons, we won't get into that, but we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So we can break that down on another episode, but it makes me think about that. And, I think it's important to strike that balance, right, between technology and the need for the humans. So how do you have any insights for us on how we can strike that balance of, implementing the technological aspects or technologies versus the human need and the human touch, so to speak, of these services?
You hit the right word there, right? Balancing the technological aspects with a human touch is a crucial and providing a holistic and empathetic approach. I think that's kind of key there, right? Use technology for streamlining the process, enhancing the efficiency, making sure you have zero errors, being right all the time, and providing data-driven insights. But at the same time, complement it with human interactions. Do not replace the human interactions. Don't let a system machine talk to you, right? But let the machine help you make the decisions, data make the decisions, but have a human who's actually interpreting it and communicating it, right? That's where the responsible AI comes into place, right? Implement AI and digital tools for administrative tasks, while the human resources are used for personalized customer wants, so that they have a empathetic communication, knowing when to say what, right? Develop a user-friendly interface that empowers the individuals to navigate the complexity of the health systems. Uh, Give them things like telehealth where they can interact, but at the other side, it's not a machine that's actually talking to them. It's actually a human providing that human touch, and the patient provider relationship, building that, nurturing that, even in a virtual manner. I think that's kind of critical from that perspective. So knowing when to put technology, where to put it, and when to step back, and providing that human touch, be it with the providers, be it with the customer support, that is the challenge there. So knowing, giving the time, money, and effort to implement things that are data driven, that support our customer support folks, but at the same time not replacing them, is kind of the key there. So that happy balance is really required to make sure that we gain the trust of the customers, and also forget the trust part of it, just to give them things that are actually meaningful to them, that are actually useful to them. So I think that's where the happy balance comes in.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how this is all going to play out, especially because the advancements in these large language models and NLP and you name it are advancing so fast, and they're getting more intelligent and producing better results. They still haven't surpassed human intelligence, but they can surpass processing speed. But if the systems, what I would say, the human technology is much more ancient, and it's not going to evolve overnight, right? And so there's baked into the human science, into the human technology of what a human needs and how it performs at optimal levels, and it needs community. It needs the connection, and that can't really be replaced with technology. Now there's going to be some aspects of it that maybe can be replaced, but it's potentially detrimental in some ways, right? When you're trying to simulate that human interaction with some sort of an AI avatar that potentially is still kind of sending the same signals to the brain from a mirror neuron perspective, but it can be overused, and it can be dangerous, and it can be addicting in some ways when we're experiencing a lot of mental health issues with social media and stuff. And so it's interesting to see how this is all going to play out as we start to outsource some of these tasks to chatbots and to virtual avatars, while still working to balance that real need for human interaction, but also protecting the humans from potential harm with some of these technologies. So from a team dynamic perspective, how do you think the human element comes into play when it comes to the dynamics within, say, a development team?
I think communication, right? Effective communication, and mainly ensuring that the team member understands the actual need, and also how are they contributing to the and impacting the human factor, I think is critical. I'll take an example. We were building a digital tool for our brokers, right? And this team was in India, and we were having a lot of struggle going back and forth, trying to explain to them what the business need is, what our end user need is, and the team did not really have any kind of concept to it. They didn't have the concept of stop and saving it, and all different kind of challenges. Um, Coincidentally, I was actually going to go visit my parents in India, and this office was like 30 minutes from where they live. So I said, you know what? Let me take a time to go and sit with them and try to understand what their challenges. Why are they not able to make this happen? Why are the deadlines not being met? So once I went there and built that trust with them, where I was sitting face to face with them, explaining them what are we actually looking for, and try to simplify it and say, put yourself in the broker shoes, put yourself in the end user shoes, and think of it from their perspective on what you're doing. Simple things. I didn't really break any new things or say any innovative things to them. I just simplified it for them. And once that effective communication was done, the whole project team changed, right? It was a game changer. They saw how they are doing, having an impact on the tools that they are building. And today that tool has over 2.5 million submissions in the last 5+ years. It's an industry leading tool, and it wouldn't have happened if it was not for that face-to-face interaction. We believe a lot in this virtual world, which is good. It helps us. Having a offshore model helps us because you have a development going 24 hours on the clock. But being able to go and just simplify it for them is very critical. I think that's where those things are. The effective communication is important because you need to understand the cultural differences also. The developers who were actually doing it had no idea how insurance is sold in America, right? Being able to simplify it for them was very meaningful and effective. I think that's where sometimes we overdo it, sometimes we overthink about stuff, but just keeping it to the basic and doing that effective communication with them face to face, and simplifying it and making it relatable for them is the key. So I think that's what we have seen it in our teams, and over the multiple projects that I've had the chance to lead, that's been a constant theme. Being able to make it meaningful for the developers to feel that they own it and empowering them. I think that is kind of the key there.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm biting my tongue here because you're making me want to just start coming out with a lot of human behavior and human science stuff. But we're getting towards the end of this episode, and so I don't really have time to go down that deep rabbit hole. But it makes me, one aspect that it makes me think about is that so much of the vast majority of communication is not the words that you're hearing or that you're reading. It's cues, it's tone, it's body movements, it's posture, it's all kinds of different things, and a lot of that stuff goes out the window. And if you think about it from a business perspective, it's like you said, it's good to be in front of them, and there's a reason, there's a deep rooted reason underneath that, underlying goes very deep. Of that's how humans connect, and when you start to kind of take that away, there's got to be some sort of a hybrid approach. Yes, people are virtual now. Yes, there's offshore, onshore, nearshore development. Yes, but it's you've got to keep that human interaction as well, right? You've got to hybridize it in a sense to make sure that we're leveraging, and leveraging the knowledge of human science and creating those environments where people can thrive. And I love what you're saying about kind of helping them to understand how they fit into the picture of and helping them to kind of tie onto that purpose is what I was hearing underlying what you're saying, because that's what's going to get people bought in and motivated and make them feel that they're contributing, which is part of the human need of existence, right? Of actualization, these types of things. So it's extremely important. That's the stuff that I geek out over, if you can't tell. But I know we've had these conversations, similar conversations in the past. But so, Prasanna, in your opinion, what technology do you believe the world needs that doesn't exist yet?
I'll keep it to my world of the health insurance, right? I think what we do need is it's a comprehensive and interoperable health data platform where you're seamlessly integrating the real-time health data with the predictive analysis that's out there, using artificial intelligence and the blockchain to do the privacy and security, but at the same time creating a lifestyle or building a lifestyle that is personalized for each individual, right? And also providing better coverages that are helpful to the customer, knowing what they need. I think that doesn't really exist today, right? You go to a doctor's office, that system is different. You go to a hospital, that system is different. You use your Apple Watches and other technologies, that health data is collected and maintained differently. You track another app for your healthy eating habits, that data is different. Everything is sitting isolated within its own place, and bringing all of it together to create a meaningful customer experience that is still personalized for me is very important, and that doesn't exist today. I think that is something that I would look forward. If I can be part of the team that is actually building it, that would be amazing. But that is something that this currently doesn't exist, and that is a technology that I'm looking forward to.
When you're talking about that, I'm thinking, or I'm just imagining, or just thinking about how so many new technologies are being developed. There's so many new tools and so many new apps and so many new platforms. There's so many ways of tracking a lot of this information. That's accelerating, and it's happening much faster that all this stuff is getting streamlined. And so it's like we're leaders are trying to figure out how do they integrate all of this information and streamline it and standardize it and make it easily digestible for these people, as all these new tools are being developed and put out there in the world, that people are starting to use more and more variations of this stuff, which is probably storing it in the data in different ways. And so it's almost like it's just going to become more and more complex, theoretically, to be able to streamline everything and standardize it, so to
Exactly.
speak.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We're growing too fast for our own good, to be honest. Sometimes we're going too fast for our own good.
yeah. Don't get me started on that. That's another show. But so no, that it's mind-boggling. I'm the type of person that is constantly looking to continuously improve things. How can I continuously make a bigger impact, improve things internally, externally, for clients, all of this stuff. And so I'm constantly looking for these technologies or these better ways of doing things, or how do we improve things. But for the person that's not like that, and the person that's not so ingrained into technology like you and I, it's like I almost can't wrap my head around how they're going to perceive all of this change that's coming at us. It's just going to completely come out of nowhere for them, and you're just going to be blindsided, right? And so it's hard to grip of how fast things are changing, but it's coming
It's
at us.
overwhelming. To be honest, it's overwhelming.
It's all what?
I said it's overwhelming
Oh, it is.
for a common user. It's just
Yeah,
overwhelming.
yeah, absolutely. And that's really what I'm passionate about, and why we're doing what we're doing, is that we understood that years ago, that the pace of change that was happening, we need to become proactive, and we need to get better at leveraging human science to proactively move into the future and master that change, so that we're not disrupting our teams and our end users and everybody else. Because when you put the human psyche into, or the human technology, what I like to say, into that fight or flight response, it is scientifically proven that it's not going to benefit them. They're going to be less productive. They're going to be less satisfied. They're going to be less happy in a sense, and they're going to have less abilities if they stay in that flight or flight existence of fear and overwhelm, right? We need to understand how to proactively protect from that, and kind of focus on what's important, and push the noise aside, so to speak. So, Prasanna, we are coming up on time, and it was really great talking with you. I appreciate you joining and sharing some of these insights. Can you share with us maybe something that really drives your passion for this industry, and what kind of projects energize you most?
Sure. I think for me, it's all about who my end user is. It could be a customer, it could be an agency owner, it could be a broker, it could be who my end user is, and being able to um, sit down with them and understand their needs, and building solutions that are meaningful to them is kind of critical for me. That's kind of where my passion is. I don't really develop because I'm not a development. If you ask me to develop, I'm not going to be good at it. But if you ask me to translate, design, and transform, and make it meaningful to the developer, that's what I like to do. Right? I try to take the complexity out of things and simplify it, be it in my projects that I have, be it in my interactions with my team, or providing solutions also. Right? That's where the simplicity comes in. I think sometimes less is more, right? Giving simplified solutions that are meaningful. That's where I take the energy, and make sure that my solutions are long term, and being able to deliver that is kind of very important for me. Um, have had the opportunity to be in this health insurance industry for 20 plus years now. So I've seen it go through a lot of the stuff, right? I've worked with the senior population, I've worked with the younger generations, I've worked with the agency offices, and knowing that each customer, each of them have their different needs, and being able to talk their language, being able to make sure to build that trust, I think is kind of the key. So that's how I look at it, and that's where my passion is. That human interactions, and building that trust is very important for me. And at the end of the day, it's about waking up in the morning and feeling energized to do what you do, and being happy about it, being satisfied about it. That's more critical to have a healthy lifestyle, right? Mentally healthy, mental health is way more important than just the physical health. So balancing that mental health with the physical health, and keeping satisfaction and family care at the core is kind of critical for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like we're very aligned there, right? As I've spent a lot of years of figuring out how can I align what I do for work with my purpose in life. And that's really what, Tech Human is about. Is it's a vehicle for me to serve my purpose and make that impact to help, specifically technology teams. We've I've chosen that subsect of people. But, I'm also making impact on my team members, on my family, from all of the knowledge and the training that I've had. But it's just really just a platform for me to fulfill what I believe is my life purpose, so that when I show up to work, it's fun. It's not work. It's like I'm getting energized as I'm doing this work. And for me, it's almost a challenge to shut it off. It's like I have to okay, I need to stop working and now pay attention to this area of my life, so to speak. So I understand, the underlying meaning of what you're saying there. And so it sounds like we're very similar there. You obviously have an amazing level of experience and expertise in digital transformation, having so much extensive experience working with great organizations in your career, and you're obviously passionate about progress, right? As am I. As the landscape of healthcare evolves, what are the kinds of challenges or opportunities that you're really looking to tackle? And I know you mentioned you want to make an impact on people, but is there any more color you can help us understand about that?
Just to add on and not repeat myself on what I was saying, right? I'll close off, I'll kind of say it at the closing comment on that one, right? It's about enhancing people's lives, right? Providing a peace of mind and giving being a trusted, reliable partner in their healthcare journey. I think that's kind of the key, right? I think as industry leaders, technology people, we need to have a commitment to marry the innovation with humanity. I think that's what I would look at and say. Bring a happy mix of the innovation, technology, at the same time humanity, right? For the future, where health insurance is not just a service, but it's a support system for everyone. So that's what we are looking for. We're not looking to just build a service system, but more of a support system. I think that's what the people need, and that's where we as leaders need to take our teams and take our business people along with us in providing those simplified support system for everyone.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think about the way that I like to shift mindsets in some scenarios is if we really have to kind of expand our awareness and figure out what is more meaningful and how can we make that impact moving forward at a deep rooted level of what people need, and how can we move forward in that way, leveraging these tools in a responsible manner to bring that value, to make those improvements, and really focus on the positivity. There's going to be negativity all around us, right? But it's how can we make sure we're doing our best to drive that good, that force for good, and leverage the tools at our disposal to make it happen. So yeah, it was great talking with you, Prasanna. I'll have one more request for you, but listeners, be sure to check out his work and follow him on social media. Website links and social handles will be in the show description. One last thing, Prasanna, is finally, from our conversation or some of the topics that we covered in our conversation, what is one piece of actionable advice that you want the audience to walk away with?
I think I want the audience to walk away with listen to your customers, right? Listening to their customers and making sure that you are doing the right thing for them. Doesn't have to be fashionable, doesn't have to be the flashy thing out there. Keeping it simple, meeting their needs, and understanding and building the trust with them is kind of key. So that's what I would ask you to do. It doesn't have to be in the health insurance industry. Anywhere we are doing any kind of solutioning for our customers, making sure that we build their trust and simplicity, and do not overwhelm them with too much information, right? That's where the key is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So again, thanks again, Prasanna. Listeners, don't forget to help your fellow tech humans. Share this podcast and follow me on LinkedIn at Javier Guerra 360. See you next time on the Tech Human Experience.
The Tech Human Experience